Earth's magnetic field is the basis for all modern navigation, from airplanes to satellites in space and ships at sea. If it continues to deteriorate, those systems and more are at risk.
Deep beneath the surface of the Earth, a remarkable discovery has just been made.
Stories of undersea objects, glowing objects that fly out of the water, have been around for well over thousands of years.
Scientists recently detected a mysterious signal radiating from below, leading to the revelation of not one, but two massive structures, each spanning an unbelievable 2,000 miles. The sheer scale of these megastructures is mind-boggling. They resemble vast cities concealed beneath our very feet. These findings have sparked both fascination and disbelief among scientists and experts, prompting questions about their origins and purpose. Are you ready to dive into this captivating discovery with us? Let's take off on this thrilling journey together. The discovery of two mysterious structures. Scientists have just found something interesting deep inside our planet. They discovered two huge structures, each about 600 meters long. These structures were found using data from seismic waves, which are like ripples that travel through the Earth after an earthquake. The scientists looked at the data from earthquakes in many places to learn more. The structures are located about 2,900 kilometers below the surface, right where the Earth's hot, liquid core meets the solid mantle. Imagine the Earth as a big ball with layers like an onion. These structures are in the middle layer, where things are really hot and under a lot of pressure. The discovery was made by Do-yeon Kim and a team from the University of Maryland. They were studying earthquakes near islands in the South Pacific Ocean. And interestingly, they found a new feature under these islands, which they called an ultra-low velocity zone. This new feature is about 1,000 kilometers wide, which is as big as driving from one end of Florida to the other, and then a little more. The ultra-low velocity zone. Deep inside the Earth, there are places where seismic waves move slower than usual. These areas are called ultra-low velocity zones, and scientists are still trying to understand what they're made of. They're not sure if these zones are made of different things than the Earth's core and mantle, or if they just have different temperatures. To learn more, scientists studied 7,000 sets of data from earthquakes near the Pacific Ocean. These earthquakes were big, with a magnitude higher than 6.5 on the scale used to measure them. They happened deep down, more than 200 kilometers below the surface. By looking at how seismic waves bounced off different parts inside the Earth, scientists were able to figure out some new things. They used an advanced computer program to help them understand the data. This program was originally made for studying space, but it worked really well for this too. One big discovery was a huge structure under the Marcus Islands. They also found out that the ultra-low velocity zone under Hawaii is even bigger than they first thought. Studying the Earth's mantle, the layer between the core and the crust, is really important. It can help us understand how the Earth has changed over millions of years and how things like volcanoes and earthquakes happen. Do-yeon Kim, one of the scientists, says the mantle is where the Earth's movements start. It's like a big engine that drives things like volcanoes and the movement of the Earth's outer layer. Finding ultra-low velocity zones helps us understand where some volcanoes come from and what's going on deep inside the Earth. These zones are like mysterious puzzle pieces in the Earth's mantle, the layer between the crust and the core. Even though they're super important for how our planet works, we still don't know much about them. Imagine you're trying to explore a cave, but it's really deep underground where you can't go. That's kind of like these ultra-low velocity zones. They're about 2,900 kilometers below the Earth's surface, way too far for us to visit. So, scientists have to use special tools, like seismic waves and experiments with minerals, to try and figure out what's going on down there. These zones are like slow-motion areas in the mantle. They're slower than the rest of the surrounding mantle, which makes them stand out. Scientists have spotted them using a technique called seismic tomography, which is like making a map of the Earth's insides using earthquake waves. But even though we know they're there, we're not exactly sure what they're made of or how they formed. That's because they're so hard to study directly. They might be made of different things than the rest of the mantle, or maybe they're just really hot. Studying these zones helps us understand how seismic waves move through the Earth and how the mantle moves around. It's like figuring out how water flows in a river by watching how it moves around rocks. Even though we're making progress, there's still a lot we don't know about these mysterious zones. But every new discovery brings us closer to understanding the secrets of our planet. Meanwhile, one big challenge scientists face is figuring out what ultra-low velocity zones are made of. These zones are like mystery boxes deep inside the Earth's mantle. Some people think they might be filled with heavy minerals, like rocks rich in iron and silica. Others think they could be where bits of the ocean floor that sank into the Earth gather. But here's the tricky part. We can't just take a sample or a picture of these zones to see what's really inside. So while we have some good guesses, we're still missing the final piece of the puzzle to confirm what these zones are truly made of. Let's check out the Earth's core. The mysterious composition of the Earth's core. Deep inside the Earth, beneath the rocky layers we walk on, lies a mysterious place called the core. This core is made mainly of iron and nickel, and it's divided into two parts, the outer core and the inner core. The outer core is like a sea of liquid metal, while the inner core is a solid ball. Scientists really want to understand the core because it's crucial for how our planet works. It helps create Earth's magnetic field and affects things like earthquakes and volcanoes. But it's really hard to study because it's so deep underground. One way scientists learn about the core is by studying seismic waves, which are like ripples caused by earthquakes. By observing how these waves move through the Earth, scientists can figure out what the core is made of and how it behaves. For instance, seismic waves travel at different speeds depending on whether they're passing through the solid inner core or the liquid outer core. This helps scientists map out the core's structure. They've also found areas where the core is denser or has strange seismic patterns, giving them clues about what's going on deep inside our planet. Even with all this information, there's still a lot we don't know about the Earth's core. It's like trying to solve a big puzzle with missing pieces. But scientists keep studying and learning, hoping to uncover more secrets about this hidden world beneath our feet. Another way scientists learn about the Earth's core is by studying its magnetic field. Imagine the Earth like a giant magnet with invisible lines of magnetic force stretching around it. This magnetic field is created by the movement of hot, liquid iron in the outer core, a process called the geodynamo. By examining how the magnetic field changes over time, scientists can figure out more about the core. They can learn things like what it's made of, how well it conducts electricity, and how the liquid moves around inside. Even though we've made progress, there are still many secrets about the core we haven't unlocked. One big mystery is figuring out exactly what the core is made of and how it behaves when it's incredibly hot and under tons of pressure. While we can simulate these conditions in experiments, actually getting a piece of the Earth core to study directly is something we can't do yet with our current technology. The origin of Earth's magnetic field reversals. One more puzzling thing about the Earth's core is how its magnetic field sometimes flips. Imagine the Earth's magnetic field like a giant magnet surrounding the planet. Normally, the magnetic North Pole and the magnetic South Pole stay put, but every once in a while, they switch places. This flip-flopping of the magnetic poles is called a magnetic field reversal. It's like if your compass suddenly started pointing south instead of north. Scientists think the movement of the molten iron in the outer core, called the geodynamo, is behind this magnetic magic. But here's the twist. We're not exactly sure how or why these flips happen. The Earth's core is a busy place, with hot things moving around in all directions. Figuring out what causes these reversals is like solving a really tricky puzzle. Meanwhile, understanding these changes is important because they can affect things like our navigation systems and even how the Earth's surface moves. But it's not easy. Scientists have to use advanced computers to simulate what's going on inside the Earth's core, and even then, could this be as a result of some magnetic anomalies? Discoveries of some marine magnetic anomalies. Back in the late 1950s, scientists stumbled upon something really puzzling off the coast of the western United States. These strange things were called marine magnetic anomalies. They stretched from Southern California all the way up to northern Washington and went out for hundreds of kilometers. It was like a big mystery waiting to be solved. One renowned scientist named Victor Vacquier, who came from Russia but lived in America, noticed that these anomalies stopped at certain places called fracture zones. He also saw that they had different shapes and appeared in a certain order along their paths. It was like they were following a secret pattern. Around the same time, another group of scientists found similar anomalies near Iceland. At the same time, there were other scientists like Alan Cox, who found out that the Earth's magnetic field had flipped in the past. So, what was once the North Pole of the magnetic field became the South Pole about 700,000 years ago. And there were clues suggesting that this had happened even longer ago. Then there were two other scientists, Robert S. Dietz and Harry H. Hess, who were putting together a big idea. They thought that the ocean floor was spreading, like how dough rises in the oven. They believed that new ocean crust was made at places called oceanic ridges, and then got swallowed up in deep-sea trenches. But it took some English and Canadian scientists, Frederick J. Vine, Drummond H. Matthews, and Lawrence W. Morley, to connect all these dots. They came up with an exciting theory that explained these marine magnetic anomalies. Their theory said that when the ocean floor spreads, it records the Earth's magnetic flips. So when the crust is made, it locks in the magnetic field of that time. This explains why some parts of the ocean floor have weird magnetic patterns. But when the crust of the ocean floor, which is like a big layer of hard rock, moves away from the center where it's spreading, something interesting happens. This crust gets magnetized, kind of like when you stick a magnet to a metal object. As it moves away, it keeps this magnetism and also carries along some magnetic differences with it. Imagine this. If we knew when the Earth's magnetic field switched directions, we could figure out how old the ocean floor is. Scientists like Cox and his friends did some incredible work in the 1960s. They studied rocks from land and figured out when these magnetic changes happened over the last few million years. Then, Vine and another scientist named J. Tuzo Wilson took this idea to the ocean floor near the northwest United States. They found similar magnetic changes in the rocks under the ocean there. By doing this, they could tell how old the ocean floor was in different spots. They even calculated how fast the ocean floor was moving, about 15 millimeters every year away from the center of the ridge where it spreads, and about 60 millimeters every year away from the other side of the ridge. In the 1960s and 70s, scientists mapped these magnetic changes over large areas of the ocean. They also drilled deep into the ocean floor to get samples of rocks. By studying these rocks, they could estimate how old the ocean floor was. This helped them create a timeline of when the ocean floor spread and how much it spread over the last 200 million years or so. Scientists believe that the main reason behind the magnetic changes in the ocean floor is the layer of solidified lava in the top part of the oceanic crust. Another reason is the upper layer of a rock called gabbro. There's a layer in between these rocks called a dike layer. This layer loses its magnetism because of hot water from deep in the earth that flows through it at the spreading centers, where the ocean floor spreads apart. When certain minerals in the rocks cool down from very hot temperatures between 200 degrees Celsius to 300 degrees Celsius, they get magnetized. It's like when you stick a paper clip to a magnet, the minerals become like tiny magnets because of the Earth's magnetic field around them. Even though there are ways the magnetism can change, like getting heated up again or reacting with oxygen on the seafloor, this magnetization is very strong. We can see this because even rocks as old as 165 million years in the far western equatorial Pacific still show these magnetic changes. In simple terms, the rocks in the ocean floor become like magnets as they cool down, and this helps scientists understand how old the rocks are and how the ocean floor has changed over millions of years. It's like a giant puzzle that scientists are putting together to learn more about the Earth's history. So by looking at how rocks on the ocean floor change their magnetic properties, scientists can figure out how old the ocean floor is and how fast it's moving away from where it's spreading. This was a big step in understanding how the Earth's surface changes over time. But could this be a reason for the discovery of some anomalies in the seas and oceans? Discovery of Baltic Sea anomaly. Contrary to what many people think, the great unknown isn't just up in space, it's also down in the depths of our oceans. Believe it or not, we've barely even started exploring. The National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, NOAA, tells us that we've only checked out less than 5% of what's down there. Every year, brave underwater explorers, like those on the Ocean X diving team, stumble upon incredible discoveries. These findings aren't just exciting. They also teach us about our past. Take the Baltic Sea anomaly, for instance. It's like something out of a science fiction movie. Imagine a gigantic disc-shaped object sitting quietly on the ocean floor. Some people even thought it might be an incredible advanced aircraft. This strange anomaly, discovered by Peter Lindbergh, Dennis Asberg, and their team in 2011, has caused quite a stir. And get this, the Ocean X team recently went back to check it out again, and they're saying there's even more weird things going on. During one of their expeditions, while they were looking for an ancient shipwreck, they stumbled upon this anomaly. As they passed over it, their equipment started beeped back to life. Can you imagine how exciting that must have been? According to Ocean X, this mysterious object is about 3 to 4 meters thick and a whopping 60 meters wide. And get this, it's sitting on a tall pillar-like structure standing at about 8 meters high. All of this is hiding between 85 and 90 meters below the ocean's surface. Isn't that incredible? It's like finding a treasure chest at the bottom of the sea, just waiting to be opened, in a place where the water doesn't look deep at all. It's really hard to see what's around you. This makes it tough for the team to see things clearly. Interestingly, when they first came across this thing, their equipment started acting up. But when they went past it, the problems just stopped. They thought it was just a coincidence at first. But when they went back the same way, their equipment started acting up again. This got them thinking that maybe this thing gives off some kind of energy that messes with electronics. They did a lot of tests, and every time they got close to this thing, their equipment would go haywire. A skilled diver named Stefan Hogeborn had a strange experience while diving near this thing. He said that all his electronic devices, even his satellite phone, stopped working when they got close to it. But as soon as they swam about 200 meters away, everything started working again. Then, when they went back, their devices went crazy once more. Some people who looked at this thing said it was just a natural formation, but the divers disagree. They say natural things don't have the power to mess with electronics or have a round, disc-like shape. Description of Baltic Sea anomaly. Dennis Asberg, along with his diving team from Ocean X, has just shared a brand new picture of something really strange they found underwater. Dennis says nobody has ever seen anything like it before. While he's not telling us everything about it just yet, he's planning to talk more about it on a podcast he hosts with his son, called Dennis World. That's where they'll really get into the details. So this picture they've released shows a part of the Baltic Sea anomaly, taken back in 2012. If you look closely, Dennis says you can see a triangle shape with a hole in it. But it's not easy to see everything clearly because there's a lot of dirt and stuff covering it. Dennis even drew a red line on the picture to help us see where the triangle is, and you can see that the thing is all dirty with some burnt stuff underneath. People who've looked at this picture say the longer you stare at it, the more you can see. They've noticed that it's got sharp edges and holes in it, kind of like it's been made with purpose. One person even said it looks like stuff you'd find in the ocean, with bits of coral stuck to it. Looking at it from the side, it's like we're getting a better view of what's really there, like there's something solid hidden under all that coral. When the divers first found this thing, they were really curious. As they got closer, they saw what looked like a dark staircase going down into it. They even took some samples to figure out what it's made of, but that just made them wonder even more about what this thing could be. Steve Weiner's findings suggest that the object isn't a natural rock formation, but is actually made of metals that don't exist in nature. The Ocean X team, while exploring deep underwater, came across a huge structure that looked even bigger in the dark depths. They said it was as big as a passenger plane, and it was really hard to navigate around it because it was so dark down there. What's really interesting is that they saw a trail behind the object, which was also shown on sonar images. This has led them to think that maybe the object crashed and then slid along the ocean floor. The divers even found marks on the seabed that looked like something skidded there. Moreover, the researchers noticed strange markings on the object's surface that don't look natural. The wreck is about 90 meters below the surface, and the water is so murky that it's really hard to take clear pictures or videos of it. But wait, what if you encounter terrifying these anomalies? The unexplained encounter with Baltic anomaly. The team went back to the same spot and used a special vehicle that they controlled from far away to investigate. But as the vehicle got closer to the strange thing underwater, its compass started acting up again, just like it did the first time. Peter Lindbergh, one of the team members, said that because it was so hard to see and the compass was going crazy, they had a tough time keeping track of where the vehicle was. The compass seemed to be doing its own thing, and the vehicle's cable kept getting tangled up. Many people who know a lot about these things have talked about something called the equipment turning off phenomenon. They say that when pilots or people on boats see strange aircraft, sometimes all their electronics suddenly stop working. There have been lots of times when people have seen weird objects in the sky, and then their planes, tractors, cars, buses, motorcycles, and even lawn mowers just stop working. But here's the interesting part. As soon as the strange object goes away, all the machines start working again. One group of fishermen on a boat shared a story about seeing something strange in the sky that made all their electronic devices stop working, including their radio. They said that about 15 minutes after the object went away, everything started working again, but their mobile phones were completely out of battery. It turns out, fishermen from all over the world have similar stories about encountering weird things near their boats at night that mess up their equipment. So far, not much research has been done on this strange happening, and we mostly have stories from people who saw it happen. But some pilots have also spoken up about how these things can affect their airplanes. Once, a fisherman and his son were out fishing near Jersey late at night. It was around 10:30 p.m. when they saw something strange. There was a light far away. They moved closer to get a better look, but it was still too far to see clearly. After a while, the light seemed to come down and land in the ocean. It looked like a lantern. About 5 minutes later, they saw the light again, but this time it was much closer. It was moving under the water's surface. They watched as it passed under their boat. This caused their VHF radio to flicker through different channels. Strangely, the boat's lights turned off and the engine stopped. In the darkness, they saw the strange light moving along the length of their boat. Suddenly, the object rose from the ocean and quickly disappeared over the horizon in just a few seconds. After it left, all the equipment on their boat started working again. Despite this strange encounter, they couldn't figure out what it was. They were hesitant to tell anyone about it because they thought people might not believe them. At first, they thought it was just a lantern because it glowed faintly. But when it came closer, they saw that it had vibrant colors that were hard to focus on. Unfortunately, their phones were out of battery that night, so they couldn't take any pictures. Since that incident, they haven't seen the object again. Some people think that what they saw could be the Baltic Sea anomaly, which is said to be an unidentified object underwater. But for now, the mystery remains unsolved. Let's explore some mind-blowing hypotheses. Some strange hypotheses on USOs. USOs, which stands for Unidentified Submerged Objects, are fascinating and mysterious things that have caught the attention of researchers and fans alike. While we often hear about unidentified flying objects in the sky, USOs are all about things that are seen under the water in places like oceans, lakes, and rivers. People have been talking about USOs for a long time, like for centuries. There are stories about strange things coming up from the deep water that have been passed down from grandparents to grandchildren, making everyone super curious. But it wasn't until recently that people started paying more attention to USOs and trying to figure out what they are. There have been lots of reports of USOs from all over the world, like in the Bermuda Triangle, the Pacific Ocean, and the Great Lakes. People who have seen USOs often say they glow or have lights, and they move really smoothly and quickly underwater, which is incredibly great. There are different ideas about what USOs could be. Some people think they might be natural things, like special organisms that make light underwater. Others think they could be from outer space, or really advanced technology made by humans. One natural idea is that there are organisms underwater that can make light, which could explain some of the strange glows and patterns seen with USOs. But for now, the mystery of USOs continues to spark the imagination of everyone who hears about them. But this explanation doesn't explain how USOs move so perfectly and fast, like what witnesses have said. Another idea is that USOs might be an extremely advanced military submarines or other underwater vehicles. Governments all over the world have been working underwater, so some people think that maybe these USOs are part of secret military things these governments work on. The thing is, no government has officially said, yes, we've got incredibly fast underwater vehicles. So the mystery around USOs gets even bigger. Studying USOs is really hard because the ocean is huge and deep, and it's not easy to explore all of it. The underwater world is tough to research because it's so big and the conditions are really extreme. Also, not many scientists are looking into USOs, and there isn't much money for this kind of research. So we don't know much about them. Right now, USOs are still a big mystery that lots of people are curious about. People have seen things underwater that just don't make sense. Some things can maybe be explained by nature or technology we know about, but others are just too strange. While some USOs might have a natural or human-made explanation, some people think that maybe aliens are involved, though we can't be sure. To really understand USOs, we need to explore more of our oceans and study them better. There's so much we still don't know about what's hiding beneath the waves, and figuring out USOs could help us learn more about our world, and maybe even find out if we're not alone in the universe. What do you think about this mysterious discoveries? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more fascinating space videos.